Hey, Dad.
Hey, kiddo.
You're gonna want to see this.
Wow.
I did it.
Getting a tear in my eye. By now, you've probably seen that TV commercial for the Scout, a classic truck that helped pave the way for the modern sport utility vehicle craze. It's making a comeback as an all-new electric SUV and pickup. More than 500,000 International Harvester Scouts were sold during its 20-year run, ending in 1980. In the 45 years since, the vehicle has developed a bit of a cult following that has kept a dwindling number of the trucks on the road. Well, Chris Van Cleve is scouting out the power of nostalgia in bringing an old brand back to life.
The Scout 2.
When the International Harvester Scout rolled off the production line back in 1960, it was truly an SUV before the world had ever even heard of a sport utility vehicle.
Scout's extra wide wheel track and lower silhouette give added stability.
A four-wheel drive truck that could be a hardtop, a pickup, or roll around as a soft top, even with no top. It was intended to compete with Jeep off-road and on-road, offer the heft of a work truck with the space of a station wagon.
Scout, anything less is just a car.
It's one of the best vehicles I ever had.
45 years ago, Dale Jackson bought a brand new Scout 2. He needed something that could handle his farm in the mountains of Ravenswood, West Virginia, and haul around the family.
We used it for everything from traveling to feed cows, and we used it. And sometimes we abused it, but it done everything we wanted to do.
For his son Jason, the Scout became the driver of cherished childhood memories.
Around the farm or busting through the mud or the snow, we actually took it on family vacations. We'd go to the beach in it. Tons of memories with trout fishing.
That 1979 Scout became Jason's first car, the first of about a dozen Scouts he'd owned over the years. While he never sold his father's truck, Jason parked it for the last time in 1993.
I'd looked at it for 30 years, and I made up my mind, I'm going to rebuild that, and I'm going to give it back to my dad without him knowing it.
What made you go, I want to restore this, I want to give it to Dad?
The love for my dad. I wanted to give back to him everything that he had given to me.
It took a couple of years and some detective work to find parts which were increasingly in short supply. The Scout production line came to a halt back in 1980 after a crippling 172-day strike coupled with an economic recession that left International spiraling towards bankruptcy.
After Scout ended in 1980, I think you really had to be a Scout aficionado to know about it.
Alana Scher is the senior features editor at Car and Driver.
The original Scout, it was a real game changer, and I don't even think they realized what a game changer it was at the time.
It sort of set the trend.
The Scout absolutely set the trend. In fact, Ford came in with the Bronco, which is a much more famous SUV, but it was after the Scout.
It was that pioneering go-anywhere ability that resonated with the Jackson family, but also with Volkswagen, who bought the Scout brand in 2021 and started planning a comeback story of their own, a return to the road as an EV. The Scout SUV and pickup versions will be built at this brand new factory in South Carolina, itself still under construction, bringing with it 4,000 new jobs.
Why bring back Scout?
Look, it's a chance of a lifetime.
Scott Keogh is the president and CEO of the new Scout Motors.
First and foremost, this is the Godfather. We wanted to bring him back. The second thing, it's well loved.
EV sales are slowing. Politically right now, there's certainly a lot of rhetoric about moving away from electrics. Those are some headwinds as you'd be coming on the market.
It's about 10% of the market. It was expected to be growing faster, but it's still growing and it's still a successful segment. Bigger picture, there's an awful lot to offer with electrification. What does the administration at its core want? And how does that reflect what we're doing? Build things again in America, do things again in America. Let's get back to building and doing.
Scout will hit the road in 2027, but the design is already largely set. A front grille and body paying homage to the past. And inside, there's even an optional bench seat, just like the old days. They're promising 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds, a range of around 350 miles, with an optional extender to hit 500 miles between charges, with a price point starting in the mid to upper 50s. Something decidedly old school, this is one EV that's not all about the screens. Notice this one still comes with tried and true handles, buttons, and knobs.
There are certain things that should always be simple.
Lead designer Chris Benjamin.
It's finding that balance of creating something that feels like a Scout, so people that are familiar with the brand, they look at it and they go, oh yeah, of course that's a Scout. And then people that aren't familiar with the brand, they can look at it and go, wow, that's cool.
This is like a pre-prototype.
Pre. It's purely a design study is what I would call it.
And we were among the first to hop behind the wheel of one of the two rolling design studies, the early prototypes that were unveiled to the world late last year.
Did you feel some pressure when you debuted this for the Scout folks?
An immense amount of pressure, immense.
Based on the early reservations, the Scout is charged up to be a hit.
What is it about taking something like Scout and bringing it back as an electric? Why does that seem to resonate?
Nostalgia makes a really good marketing tool for introducing a new idea because it's all about familiarity, right? It already makes you feel comfortable. You feel like you know it. It's a friend.
For the Jacksons, surprising Dale with an old friend. His now beautifully restored 1979 Scout 2 was a moment they'll never forget.
I wanted him to get, when he sat down in it, to have that same feeling he did when he bought it.
When I first looked at it, I just couldn't believe it was the same Scout. I couldn't say nothing.
And while it's still a thrill to drive the original,
Never thought we'd have it out in the snow, Dad. This is the good old days.
Jason is looking forward to scouting out one more memory.
I'm 52 years old. I've never bought a new vehicle in my lifetime. My first new vehicle will be a Scout. In fact, I've already reserved one.
Blazing a familiar trail in a whole new electric way. For CBS Saturday Morning, I'm Chris Van Cleve in Malibu, California.
I love everything about that story.
Yep.
I love every character in that story, the CEO staying on message, but you know, the Scout sounds like the way to go.
Michelle may be buying one.